All right, let's talk about a problem that drives every single developer crazy. Documentation that's basically dead on arrival. Well, Google just dropped a new tool called Code Wiki, and it promises to solve this once and for all. This might just change how we understand code forever.
But before we dive into the solution, I've got a question for you. If you're a developer, you know the answer to this in your bones. What's the single biggest bottleneck you face every day? It's not shipping new features, it's not even squashing bugs. It's just trying to understand the code that's already there.
And the amount of time we waste on this, it's absolutely staggering. Studies show that developers spend 30 to 40% of their time just trying to get their heads around existing code. Think about that. That's almost half the work week, gone. Not building, just deciphering. It's a massive productivity killer, and it turns working on older systems into what some folks call an archaeological dig.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem, what we can call the documentation dilemma. We all know we need good docs. We all try to write them. But there's a fundamental flaw. Traditional documentation goes stale the second it's written.
You know the drill, right? On one side, you've got the classic docs. They're written by hand, they're almost never updated, and half the time they contradict what the code is actually doing. We've all seen those readmes that talk about functions that were deleted months ago. But on the other side is the promise of Code Wiki, documentation that is always current because it's completely automated. It's a huge shift from a static, unreliable file to a living, breathing knowledge base.
So, this is exactly what Google has just launched. And look, Code Wiki isn't just another DocGen tool. It's a completely different way of thinking about how we interact with our code bases.
So what is it? Simply put, Code Wiki is a platform that plugs into your code repository and uses AI to automatically build out a whole interactive knowledge base for you. But the key here is that it's not a one-time thing. It's a dynamic system that is designed to stay perfectly in sync with your code as it changes.
And this quote really captures the whole idea. The goal isn't just to have better documents. The goal is to get rid of the manual chore of writing documents entirely, so we can all get straight to what matters, actually understanding the code so we can build cool stuff.
Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Well, it all comes down to its self-updating engine, which is built on 3 core capabilities that are laser-focused on making engineers more productive.
The whole process is actually beautiful in its simplicity. Every single time a developer merges a pull request, that's the trigger. Code Wiki automatically scans the code base, regenerates any documentation that needs to be changed, and updates the entire knowledge base. It's this constant cycle that makes it impossible for the docs to fall behind the code.
So, capability number 1, and this is the big one, is that the documentation is always up to date. It literally evolves with your code. That means no more stale wikis, no more outdated readmes. The docs are always right, because they're generated from the only source of truth that matters, the code itself.
Now the second capability, this is where things get really wild. Code Wiki gives you a chat agent that's powered by Gemini. But here's the kicker. It's not a generic AI. It's been trained specifically on your repository's wiki. So you can ask it super specific questions like, hey, why does our auth module use JWSTs instead of sessions? And get a precise, context-aware answer. It's literally like having a senior engineer who knows everything about the codebase on call 24/7.
And for all of us who are visual thinkers, this third capability is a total game changer. Code Wiki automatically generates diagrams for you. Architecture diagrams, class diagrams, sequence diagrams, you name it. So instead of trying to build this massive, complex system in your head, you get these clear, intuitive visuals that bring your whole app's architecture to life. And of course, they always reflect the current state of the code.
So when you put all these pieces together, the impact is way bigger than just better docs. It fundamentally shifts the entire developer workflow from a painful process of deciphering code to what it should be, building things. So what does this actually unlock for a team? Well, for starters, new hires can get up to speed way faster. Working on that scary legacy system becomes less of an archaeological dig and more like a guided tour. And since every piece of the documentation is hyperlinked directly to the code, you can seamlessly jump from a high-level idea right down to the specific line of code where it's defined. It just means more time building and less time figuring things out. What this all leads to is a truly unified workflow. Reading the docs and exploring the code are no longer 2 separate things you have to do. They merge into one single integrated experience. You're not constantly switching context between a stale wiki and your IDE.
You're just interacting with this living system where learning and exploring happen at the same time.
Okay, this all sounds pretty incredible, right? So the big question is, how can you actually get your hands on it? Let's cover where the project is at right now and what's coming up next.
Right now, Code Wiki is available as a public preview. You can go to the website and start exploring wikis that have already been generated for some massive public repos, like Go, Flutter, and even Kubernetes. You can play around with the navigation, and you can even start asking that Gemini chat agent questions about those code bases today.
But of course, the million-dollar question for most companies is how to document their own private, internal code. And Google is on it. They're building a Gemini CLI extension that will let teams run this exact same system locally and securely on their own private repos without any sensitive data ever leaving their network. You can actually join the waitlist for that right now.
Which all brings us back to that big final question. When you have tools that can generate, maintain, and even let you have a conversation with your documentation, is this the end of writing documentation as we know it? Maybe the future isn't about writing more docs at all, but about building systems that give us instant, on-demand understanding. And that future might be a lot closer than we think.